The coffee cup slid in the quiet roll while the wheel ticked, and from the empty davits the sea answered back. Nothing but a line of wake with no hands to claim it. This is Mary Celeste, 1872, ship without her crew. Join me as we slip across a gray Atlantic to the day she was found drifting and sound. A vessel with a voice reduced to log lines and salt-stained canvas. Ordinary passage, extraordinary absence. On the morning of November 7th, 1872, the Mary Celeste slipped her moorings in New York Harbor. Her destination was Genoa, Italy, and her hold carried over 1,700 barrels of denatured alcohol, an innocuous cargo bound for industrial use across the Atlantic. At the helm stood Captain Benjamin Briggs, a seasoned mariner from New England. Known for his deliberation and piety, Briggs had sailed many routes and owned a share in the vessel itself. Joining him were his wife, Sarah, and their young daughter, Sophia, making this voyage not only commercial, but also a family passage. 7 crewmen rounded out the company. Each had been carefully selected by Briggs, men of experience, calm bearing, and unblemished reputation. They hailed from disparate corners of the maritime world, but shared one trait: steady hands at sea. The ship, once known as the Amazon, had been recently overhauled, its timbers firm, sails stout, and lines newly fitted. The voyage across the North Atlantic was, by all surviving records, uneventful. The shipping lanes that time of year were challenging, but not insurmountable. According to the captain's log, preserved and found later intact, days passed with the predictable rhythm of ocean travel. Slight changes in sail, regular soundings, adjustments to course. The logs mention no mechanical failures, no grievances among the crew, no storms of any grave note. Just the small, ongoing efforts of men tending to their duties aboard a capable brigantine. The log's final entry came on November 25th, placing the vessel near Santa Maria Island, one of the Azores. It chronicled nothing out of the ordinary. No distress, no premonition, just the close of another routine day underway. And then nothing. Weeks later, on December 5th, the Dei Gracia, a Canadian brigantine, spotted the Mary Celeste adrift some 400 miles east of the Azores. She lingered oddly in open water, sails partially set, drifting in no clear line. When men from the Dei Gracia boarded her, they found the ship seaworthy. The provisions were dry and plentiful. The cargo was intact, with only a few barrels reported to be damaged. The ship's papers, excluding the captain's logbook, remained aboard. But her crew, Captain Briggs and his family, all were gone. No lifeboat remained. No message explained their departure. The decks were not in disarray, nor stained by violence. It was as though they had simply stepped away in silence, leaving behind a vessel still ready to sail. Found, but unmanned. On the morning of December 5th, 1872, under gray Atlantic skies and a biting wind near the Azores, the British brig Dei Gracia spotted a vessel adrift. She was under partial sail, drifting aimlessly. There were no distress flags, no signals. Through his spyglass, Captain David Morehouse scrutinized the ship. He could see no movement on deck, no watch, no helmsman, not a soul in sight. Curious and concerned, Morehouse ordered a small inspection party to board. As their boat approached the drifting vessel, silence closed around them like a shroud. The name Mary Celeste was painted in steady white letters on the stern. She was seaworthy, her hull intact, but something was utterly amiss. The boarding party climbed aboard and took stock. Below decks, the scene was bizarrely normal. The crew's bunks were made, their clothes still hanging neatly from wooden pegs. The galley was stocked with ample provisions, untouched and sufficient for many more weeks at sea. The ship had not been ransacked, nor did she show clear signs of mutiny or struggle. The cargo hold revealed little. Most of the 1,701 barrels of industrial alcohol were still there, returned later with only 9 marked as having leaked. According to the New York Times, and verified in the original cargo manifests, the shipment matched records filed in New York. The ship's boat, however, was missing, and a frayed line trailed over the stern, as if it had once secured it. More disturbing were the small, inexplicable absences. The glass over the binnacle had shattered, the sextant and marine chronometer were gone, and various papers had vanished. Only the captain's log remained. Its final entry, dated 10 days prior, noted nothing unusual. Position logged, course steady. No hint of the storm or sabotage. Investigators later noted that while there was a modest depth of water in the bilge, it was minor, posing no threat to a vessel still structurally sound. The rigging showed signs of strain typical of harsh North Atlantic weather, but no indication of calamity. The Mary Celeste, eerily composed yet utterly abandoned, was sailed with quiet dread to Gibraltar by the Dei Gratia crew. Unlike a wreck or a storm-battered ghost ship, she had the odd presence of something caught mid-movement, a vessel paused in time, emptied of voices, sailing only on memory, a ship abandoned in good order. She floated silently upon the Atlantic swells, her sails partially set, canvas flapping in the inconsistent wind. To the crew of the Dei Gratia, who first came upon the Mary Celeste in early December 1872, the brigantine appeared sound, even strangely serene. But they knew something was wrong the moment they stepped aboard. There was no greeting, no crew, no sign of life at all. Down below, the scene deepened the mystery. The cabin was tidy, almost eerily so. Charts were still rolled neatly on the captain's desk. The ship's clock ticked with unbothered rhythm. The child's toys, belonging to the captain's daughter, lay where they'd last been used. The medicine chest remained undisturbed. All personal belongings, it seemed, had been left as though their owners merely stepped away for a moment and never came back. But closer inspection told a different story. The ship's only lifeboat, a yawl, was gone. The wooden cover of the companionway had been wrenched aside. More curiously, a carpenter's tool rested on deck near a stanchion that showed signs of a halted repair, as if work had just begun when something interrupted. The ship's pumps had been disassembled slightly, examined perhaps in haste. There was water in the bilge, but not an alarming amount. Investigators later considered whether the volatile nature of the cargo, over 1,700 barrels of industrial alcohol, might have raised fears among the crew. The fore and lazarette hatches were reportedly left ajar, suggesting they may have been opened deliberately to vent fumes. Might the crew have feared an explosion, or had a spate of rough weather convinced them that the hull was taking on more water than it really was? What remained gave the impression of a decision made quickly, but not in panic. A lifeline trailing astern hinted at a crew that may have evacuated temporarily, perhaps towing the yawl, intending to reboard when a perceived danger had passed. But according to records from the Gibraltar Court Inquiry of 1873, that line had parted. What was clear was that, somewhere amid fear and calculation, something severed the crew's connection to their ship. Whether foul weather, misjudgment, or misfortune played the prevailing role is unknowable. Yet the ocean is unkind to promises based on hope alone. The Mary Celeste had been left ready to sail, but not to survive without her crew. They stepped from a mystery aboard a seaworthy ship into one far deeper, and they never returned. Gibraltar's careful questions. When the Mary Celeste arrived in Gibraltar under tow, it was not just a ghost ship that entered harbor. It was a legal enigma. The Vice Admiralty Court, charged with handling maritime matters, scheduled what began as a routine salvage hearing. But with every new detail, curiosity grew. What the crew of the Dei Gratia had found was not a wrecked hulk, but a vessel eerily intact, her sails partly set, her cargo untouched. Testimony began with Captain David Morehouse of the Dei Gratia and his officers, who recounted their discovery with a calm, almost clinical precision. Their accounts were cautious. The ship appeared abandoned but sound, with no overt signs of crisis, only subtle anomalies. The ship's lone small boat was missing. Pumps had been uncapped, suggesting a problem below, yet the bilge held only a modest amount of water. Planks near the forehold carried dark stains, but no confirmed signs of blood. Surveyors appointed by the court cataloged each of these irregularities. The cargo of industrial alcohol, though potentially volatile, remained largely saleable and was meticulously sealed. This diminished any suggestion of robbery. The ship's hull was unscarred by collision or conflict. Her stores and rigging remained adequate. The Mary Celeste was weathered but seaworthy. At the center of the inquiry stood Attorney General Frederick Solly Flood, a sharp-minded legal figure known for his thoroughness. Solly Flood pushed into deeper waters, interrogating for evidence of piracy, mutiny, even insurance fraud. But no cutscenes hinted at a faked struggle. No testimony implied conspiracy. No physical trace betrayed foul play. The captain's chronometer was missing, and the ship's timekeeping had faltered. But even that offered more perplexity than clarity. As the hearing stretched into weeks, Solly Flood's drive for a definitive explanation faltered. Admiralty records from the time reflect a tone of grim resignation. There was, as the court noted, a surprising absence of logbook entries detailing any crisis. The last entry, dated 10 days before discovery, was routine: winds, headings, coordinates. In its conclusion, the court found no firm basis for criminal charges. However, it hesitated to grant full salvage, citing vague suspicions and deficiencies in how the salvage team operated and recorded events. The Dei Gratia crew received a reduced award, a signal that doubt still lingered in official minds. And so the Mary Celeste was ultimately released from inquiry, but not from mystery. Though docked in a known port and examined by skilled hands, she offered no answers. Why 10 experienced souls, including Captain Benjamin Briggs, his wife, his young daughter, and 7 able seamen, quietly abandoned their ship remains a question no tribunal could solve. Fear, force, and the parted line. Among the countless attempts to explain the vanishing crew of the Mary Celeste, most fall along a spectrum, anchored either in fear or in force. Each theory tries to make sense of a ship that was found under sail, supplies intact, the crew's belongings undisturbed, and no voice to speak of what unfolded. One of the more technical yet plausible explanations involves the cargo itself: 1,701 barrels of denatured alcohol. According to the New York Times, some barrels were later found empty, not because they'd been used, but because they leaked. The fumes from those barrels, if concentrated enough, could have filled the hold with a sharp, prickling vapor. A sudden gust of ignited air, a flash fire without leaving burns, might have sent a jolt of panic through even the most seasoned officers. Fearing an imminent explosion, Captain Briggs could have ordered everyone to temporarily abandon ship, tethering the yawl to the stern as a safety measure. Another theory centers on water. Nautical accident analyses suggest that the ship's pumps were found disassembled, possibly indicating they'd clogged. A newly caulked hull might have trapped moisture between layers. In such a case, sounding the bilge could give a false impression, suggesting they were taking on water much faster than they truly were. If the crew believed the Mary Celeste was foundering, they might have chosen the lifeboat as the lesser risk. Weather, too, remains a contender. A waterspout or a sudden squall, brief but violent, could have tossed the brigantine violently enough to seem fatally compromised. In the haze of such an event, stepping down into a boat might have seemed wise, even for only an hour or two. Then come the human motives: mutiny, piracy, and conspiracy with the Dei Gratia, the ship that found her. But as detailed in the Gibraltar court transcripts of 1873, no signs of violence were found aboard. No blood, no torn pages from the logbook, no missing valuables, only silence. Investigators could never identify cause or collusion. Still, mariners are trained to stay with their ship. They are also trained to recognize invisible threats: gas, fire, structural weakness. And when surrounded by a gray and restless ocean, one's confidence in a hulk of timber can falter. If the crew departed tethered to the ship, the explanation might have ended with the sea itself: a sudden gust, a frayed rope, a moment's delay. In such a vast and veiled world, a boat can vanish downwind in minutes. Each theory explains something, yet none explains everything. And that is why the mystery endures, clear in its facts, yet incomplete in its truth. A name that would not sink. Public imagination quickly outpaced the layers of legal findings. Newspaper editors across Europe and the United States seized on the strange tale, summarizing the Gibraltar hearings and then reshaping them into increasingly dramatic narratives. Initial reports played up the mystery, but in the absence of hard conclusions, embellishment filled the gaps. Over time, the bare facts were blurred by conjecture, until decades later, a popular fictional retelling by Arthur Conan Doyle further distorted public memory. His story, meant as entertainment, fastened certain myths into the hull of the Mary Celeste's legacy. Tales of deranged crewmen and ghostly silence that were never part of the official record. In the real world, the ship itself sailed on. Cleared of suspicion by the colonial courts, the Mary Celeste was repaired and returned to commercial service. She changed hands, flagged under new registries, and plied routes between the Caribbean and the North Atlantic. But the shadow of her mystery remained, a kind of invisible cargo she carried no matter her destination. Her end came in 1885. Then, under the command of Gilman Parker, the Mary Celeste was deliberately run aground on Rochelaure Reef, off the Haitian coast. The wreck was poorly disguised, and when the circumstances failed to withstand scrutiny, investigators concluded it had been a calculated act, an attempted insurance fraud. Parker's reputation collapsed, his maritime career effectively ended. Though separated by years and causes, his story became entangled with the ship's broader aura of misfortune. As for Captain Briggs, his wife Sarah, their daughter Sophia, and the rest of the vanished crew, no graves were found, no messages left behind. Families waited for answers that never came. The ocean, indifferent witness, held its silence. In sailor lore and maritime training alike, the case subtly endures. Seafarers know the gravity of choosing when or whether to leave a vessel. To abandon a ship still afloat is to make a judgment against hope, one that cuts close to instinct and experience. It's a choice shaped by moments, and sometimes never fully understood. The name Mary Celeste settled into language as a kind of shorthand, not for danger exactly, but for deep ambiguity. A phrase whispered alongside the logs and ledgers of ships lost or found, floating but unmanned. A quiet reminder that even the most routine voyage can become a permanent question, logged but never answered. The ledger with a missing line. Stand long enough on a quiet pier and you can almost hear it, the low, persistent murmur between prudence and fear. It's the age-old conversation every sailor knows, surfacing just before mooring lines are cast off. It's not panic nor paranoia. It's the calculation made in silence, what might be waiting just beyond the veil of the horizon. The Mary Celeste lodges itself in that very silence. She was seaworthy, her holds packed full with insured industrial alcohol, a cargo of high value, carefully accounted for. The captain, Benjamin Briggs, was respected and disciplined. His wife and young daughter joined him on what was meant to be a straightforward voyage. His crew experienced with no records of unrest. There was, by all measures, no sign that anything waited to go awry. And yet something did. When the vessel was found adrift and abandoned, according to Admiralty records and the Gibraltar Court proceedings of 1873, there were no signs of struggle, no damage from storm or attack. The captain's log, recovered intact, trailed off with entries as ordinary as any at sea, sightings of other sails, changes in wind, stars charted dutifully. Silence. That is where the story begins to fade, where reality lacks a final entry, a blank line in a ledger that should carry the weight of explanation. We pore over the cargo manifests, the last notations, the alignment of events leading to that ghostly discovery. It's almost solvable, just almost. And that is perhaps why the tale never quite drifts away. The story of the Mary Celeste lingers because it resists conclusion. It speaks to the narrow ledge upon which order and chaos balance at sea. We return to her records, her route, her crew list, not because they answer us, but because they almost do. A single line missing, suspended forever just out of reach, on the far edge of understanding. Thank you for sailing with Nightmare Nook, where history's quiet corridors echo a little longer. Subscribe and return for the next investigation, and until then, keep a weather eye on familiar waters. The most ordinary details are often the ones that vanish.